So I always think of the Air Force as being fairly forward-thinking in terms of content management stuff. Colonel Whitlock, what's the biggest challenge, though, that you've had convincing warfighters that this is actually needed?
Right, so clearly we're a little less interested in external branding than Molly is. So it's most all internal. We do use our ECM platform to, from single platform, also push to public servers when the information is required. But I'm going to answer this question a little bit differently. You encouraged us to do creative answers on this one, so I'm going to get creative, and I'm going to suggest that all the greatest communication in the world will not help you if you have a lousy ECM platform that nobody uses. So sort of proof is in the execution, particularly for an internal-facing knowledge management application. It's all about whether it's useful to people to use. If it's not useful to people to use, they're not going to put anything in it, and it will not be successful. So that's the challenge. How do you do that? I mentioned when we started 6 years ago, it was cutting-edge stuff. Now, not so much. It certainly is not the front end is not Facebook, right? So that's what people now expect. I think that's where you need to go with this. It's about making the user interface user seductive and demonstrating on a daily basis the why using this application is going to help someone do their job. The other side of it, so you've got a spectrum from a knowledge management application, you don't have to use it for your job, maybe it'll help you do your job, to business process management, you got to do it to do your job, right? We have those applications, so I'm going to tell two quick case stories of what not to do, basically. So one, we let our knowledge management application get stale. We actually just this weekend put into production a Web 2.0 front end, so I'm hopeful that that's really going to increase the usability. Now, when I say stale, I don't mean it failed. It's still steadily, more people use it every year, more content, 700 sites, maybe only a quarter to a third of those are what you really call a community of practice with people contributing in discussion forums, but a lot of content out there, but it really wasn't keeping up with the times. So Web 2.0 on the one hand. On the other hand, we had a business process management application that we used. Todd and I were talking at dinner last night. We used the same BPM, small BPM vendor. We're just hoping they don't go out of business. We like their product. And so that handles all the task tracking. So Congressman so-and-so wants to know something, and you got to tell them tomorrow. And you got to start at the top of the organization, wind your way down to one of the 500 subject matter experts, get the answer, go 17 layers back up to the bureaucracy, and everyone has to comment on it and do it by tomorrow. Tracking those sort of business processes. Well, we did that really quick, really cheaply a few years ago. It was supposed to be an interim system. It's still around now, 4 years later. And I really wish we had taken the time to integrate that into our ECM platform, because now we have all this great information about how not to reinvent the wheel when you get a question from 4 years of experience. And it's painful getting it out of the system because that was not what it was built for. So anyways, I think it's all about getting the information. Unless you're trying to ingest every email, which I know some organizations are doing this, we're not doing it. It's trying to ingest every email and every document that's put on anyone's hard drive. You got different problems then, obviously. But mostly it's about how do you get good information in your ECM platform. Hopefully the rest of the stuff, discovery and storage and dissemination, smart technical folks can figure that out. But the smart technical folks cannot figure out the business process for getting the information in. So that's where the challenge is. I think if you do that successfully, then the communicating the value to leadership becomes extremely easy.
Todd, for you, I guess the challenge is even worse because you're acquiring companies and some folks have ECM systems in place and they've got their mindset on what they want to do, and then there's other folks who never even heard the term ECM.
True.
It's all over the board.
Yeah, and there's one step above that too, which is since we're a real estate company, it's sort of boring, right? It's not as exciting as what these guys are doing. But one of the problems we have is showing value for a piece of software. It's got to really show ROI to the seniors of the company. If it's a choice of buying a $500,000 piece of software or putting in a new elevator in a building, I'm going to lose. There's really no way I'm going to get that piece of software. It's going to lose to the elevator every time. So if you can really show how it's going to pay for itself or bring some kind of stability to the organization, let's call it. Everyone's always worrying about sustainability and where are we going in the future, especially in New York. Our abilities to show that we can provide better sustainability of our buildings, our assets, and also of our content has helped in some of the ROI and some of the pushes for the challenges. But it is, we're not a technology company. So it's always a fight to make sure that you can prove out that what you're purchasing is going to be valuable to the organization.